Today on the Meander Travel Podcast, we're pulling back the curtain on air travel with someone who's truly seen it all, a flight attendant. From pro travel hacks to strange passenger stories and curious behind-the-scenes realities most travelers never think about. If you've ever wondered what flight attendants really notice, avoid, or wish passengers understood, then this episode is for you. So please buckle up and stow your tray tables and enjoy this behind-the-scenes look at air travel. Wheels up!
We're gonna be two hearts running wild.
Welcome to the Me and Her Travel Podcast. This is episode number 37. I am your host, Tony, with my wife, Julie.
Hello?
And we are very excited to have our good friend, Trevor, join us on the podcast today. Welcome, Trevor.
Hi, Trevor.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So Trevor is a longtime flight attendant, and we cannot wait to hear all of his secrets.
We know some, but...
We do know some, but we're going to share some more. But before we dive into that, Trevor, why don't you give us a little bit of background information about you? Like, how long have you been working in the sky, and have you always been drawn to air travel?
Alrighty. My name's Trevor. I'm a flight attendant. I've been flying for 29 years. Didn't really know what I wanted to do after college. Was about to graduate. Didn't know what I wanted to do after that. Was having a little pity party in a bar restaurant that I was working in with a coworker who flew for a regional airline. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, she said, well, why don't you become a flight attendant? And I said, well, the regional only flies to Denver and Chicago out of Huron. She said, no, I saw one of the major airlines was hiring. So about 4 o'clock in the morning.
You applied at 4 in the morning?
Yeah, over the telephone.
Over the telephone?
Yep, and got a call back a couple days later. Hi, this is such and such from ABC Airlines, and we'd like to invite you to an open house. I said, great, when? I said, November 15th.
When was this?
November 15th of 1997.
Nice.
And I said, sorry, can't do it. She's like, why? I was like, well, I have finals that day. And she's like, well, how's about the final or the next Wednesday, November 22nd? I said, I graduate on the 18th. Okay. So I
you
went
had 4 days of relaxation before you jumped in.
I went and interviewed, and then you do the drug and alcohol testing after that.
And they did that back then even?
Yep. Didn't hear anything. I took my brother's birthday off, December 27th, to go skiing here in Minnesota. And from there, the phone rang, and it was such and such from ABC Airlines. I said, oh, I've been waiting to hear from you. She said, well, I'm glad I got a hold of you. It was the final time I was going to call. I said, well, why didn't you leave a message on the machine? It turns out my mom was turning the answering machine off every morning when she would go to work instead of turning it on.
Oh.
You see, kids, there was these things back in the day called voicemail machines where you would actually have a tape and you had to record them and rewind them. And now
delete
now it's all
messages.
voicemails on your phone. But back then you had to actually rewind the tape and listen to it.
Yep.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh, that's a crazy story. Wow.
All good
Too
things
funny.
happen at 4 in the morning.
Mostly.
All right. So let's also explain how we became friends, because that's a pretty good travel story as well. Trevor.
Yep. We have a mutual friend whom I met on a flight from Amsterdam to Minneapolis.
You were working.
I was working. He came on wearing a Minnesota Vikings neck pillow. I said, "Skol, brother." He's like, "Oh, Skol, brother." And from there, we hit it off and exchanged numbers. And this was in 2020, so the beginning of COVID. And he said, kind of odd story, but you don't know me from Adam, and I don't really know you from Adam, but I'm having a guys' weekend out at my house in Green Bay, and love to have you if you want to come out. We're just going to be floating up and down the river and shooting the breeze, and during that time, he said, well, if there's one place in the world you would want to go that you've never been, where would it be? And probably about 4:00 in the morning again, I said, Antarctica. And he said, well, I'm going to make it happen. And true to his word, he made it happen. And that was coming on 6 years ago. And
But you guys went to Antarctica, last year, right?
2 years ago.
2 years ago now.
Yep. So for my 50th birthday.
And this guy in question, our friend Dustin, he and I went to college together. So we've been friends for 30 years, and housemates back in college. And so Trevor and I, since that day that those two guys became friends, have become friends. And we live closer together than we do to Dustin because he's over in Green Bay. So
Yeah, too bad for Dustin. It is wild how travel has this weird way of bringing people together when you least expect it. And fast forward, and now we've all traveled to Egypt together. So we've already podcasted our Egypt trip.
I don't think we
And-
mentioned Trevor by name, but he was included in the
Yeah,
conversations of our
there was
travels.
8 of us, and it included Dustin and his wife as well, and Trevor and his wife, and it was such a fun time. But the tricky thing is, your wife is a flight attendant too. So raising 2 kids with that kind of a lifestyle could not have been easy. So how does that even work in your household? What does your schedule, or like both of your schedules, look like?
Well, we, growing up, when our we have 2 daughters, who are now 19 and 21. And if we didn't have my parents living nearby and willing and able to help on weekends when we could hold trips and stuff like that, I doubt we would both still be flying. But my wife is the brains of the operation. She figures out when we're going to fly and all of that stuff. As flight attendants, we work on a monthly schedule. We don't really, airplanes are always flying, so it's not a 9 to 5. And there's been more than once where she's on her way up 35W and I'm on my way down 35W, and we've passed on the freeway more than once. And yeah, it's just, it's a straight hourly. You get paid for the hours that you work, and yeah, there's no real set schedule. So we're a very fluid month to month type schedule.
So are you able to like be home for your girls when you want to? So can you like mark time off or make sure you take trips that you want, or is there so many hours you have to do per month? Or
Nope,
How
we
does it
can, we basically, I'm not sure if it's the government or the airline. I'm pretty sure it's the airline that says we have to fly 540 hours per calendar year
to stay active.
to maintain our benefits, our
Got it.
vacation and our healthcare benefits. But other than that, we can drop down to 0. And I know there's flight attendants at my company that fly up to 200 hours a month.
oh wow.
So yeah, they have some pretty good paychecks.
But if they want, they can fly like once every 2 months just to stay active, but not get the benefits, but they still are working.
If we don't fly at all, then we have to pay into our benefits. You know, say if we flew 0 hours 1 month, we would have to pay for the benefits out of pocket.
Got it.
Oh, interesting.
All right. Now that we know a little bit about your background and family and friends and all this stuff and how it works, let's get into the real interrogation.
Do.
Let's hear what your thoughts are on having to do the safety talk at the beginning. And do you think, you know, with all the hand signals and waving at the doors, and did you get annoyed with people not watching, listening? And are you glad you don't have to do it as much, since I think on a lot of planes now they're pre-recorded, or are you still doing them?
There is one airplane within our fleet that we do still have to do it manually.
Why? Because they don't have like the screens?
Yep, there's no in-screen
Down and dirty.
videos.
I knew we had seen some recently where
So-
people were still doing it.
Yep. Yeah, as far as if it bothers me or anything like that, no. It's just part of the job. I'm usually the one doing the talking, so it doesn't really.
Do you
Bother
ever
me.
have fun with people trying to watch them, like, hey, like try and talk to somebody that's trying not to listen to you so that they make contact? Just fun little games that you play?
I try and make it entertaining. You know, we have to show the demo card. We have to do the oxygen. We have to do the doors and the exits. So basically, I think if you make it entertaining for the passengers, they're more likely to give you eye contact. One little hint is don't go commando when you're doing it. One of us might have learned that the hard way when we were younger.
What? Do tell a little bit more on the passenger or on the flight attendant.
On this flight attendant.
Oh wow. Okay. Good to know.
Okay, so when we're getting on the plane, the flight attendants are always there, smiling and saying hello. And I'm wondering, when you're doing that, are you sizing everyone up and looking for potential problems and like who's most likely to cause problems on the plane?
100%, because you want to know more for the safety aspect. In the event of an emergency, you want to know the passengers that are going to be willing and able to help you in the event of an emergency. That's the primary reason that we're there, is safety and security, not so much schlepping cokes and stuff like that. That's what you see us do most often, but just, safety is, they say, I hope I'm okay to say this, but flight attendants are here to save your ass, not to kiss it.
There you go.
Oh, good one.
So when we get on the plane, you're actually taking a look to see like, hey, that guy's going to be a problem. Like he's mouthing off a little bit, or that person's super helpful and smiley and good eye contact. They're probably somebody that I could call in if I needed something, or
Exactly.
no, they're not going to give you an issue.
Or
Exactly.
that guy looks
Yep.
like a football player. He might be helpful.
Yep.
I don't know about that.
Well, if he has to tackle somebody down the,
Yeah.
whatever.
All right. How do you handle issues with animals on board or people arguing over seat space? And like, I had this one and now someone's already sitting there. And I would assume that's quite often.
Well, there's some airlines where it's kind of cattle seating.
Yeah.
Our airline, they give you a row and a letter, and that's where your assigned seat is. If the passenger asks to swap seats, it makes it sound more like you're doing them a favor. If we do it, it makes us sound like we're trying to be authoritative, and that doesn't always go over as well as if, a mother with a 5-year-old is separated. A passenger is more likely to swap if a mother asks rather than me asking.
All right, I got a question on that because this is a highly debated subject online. So when you've bought a seat and you're an aisle or a window, and somebody comes on and they bought cheaper seats because at times they're cheaper in the middles, and they've got one row, and then they've got the same seat in the middle and the next row behind or across the aisle in the middle, and they say, hey, do you mind switching so that I can be with my spouse or my kid or like whatever? And you're like, no, I this is me talking. I say, no, I paid extra money to have this window or aisle up front, and you paid less on purpose, or for whatever reason didn't pay as much. But there's a lot of people say, just move, who cares? But now you're moving into a middle seat that you didn't pay for, and somebody else is getting your seat that you did pay for. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's not so much the thoughts, it's the cold hard facts of it. Yeah.
Good, I like that answer.
You have the seat. That is your assigned seat. You are supposed to take your assigned seat unless somebody is generous enough to move from that seat. We've had passengers that have tried that exact same thing. They'll purchase one first class ticket and one coach ticket, and then the first class person will ask the person next to them, hey, it's
God.
our honeymoon. Do you mind switching seats with my new bride?
And it's intentional.
My
Intentional.
gosh.
That's so dirty. I just no.
They're thinking, hey, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's fine. It's just a flight. But if it works,
Exactly.
cool. Oh my gosh, that's never occurred to me before. That's not cool.
We should try that.
No. Oh my gosh. Okay, so how important really is like wearing your seatbelt for the whole time? Because they always have that seatbelt light on. They want you to keep it on, and they say, please keep it on. And then the other thing that I'm always curious about, why do you have to have our armrests down all the time? Like if we're sitting together, Tony and I, why can't I raise that?
And more importantly, tray tables for over half an hour out from landing. They say, okay, we're starting our landing. And it's like seriously, they come by and say, get that table up, get the table up. And I know you guys, you're laughing at me now. He's smiling at me as I'm saying this, but we're a half an hour, 40 minutes out, and we've already, like from an international flight, we're way up high. It's going to take us 35 minutes to land. You don't need it up until we
He's
land.
still watching his movie on his laptop.
Yeah, so it's sitting on the tray. Why do I have to have that tray table up? So give us all the dirt.
All right, let's break this one down a little bit. Seatbelts, yes, wear them all the time.
We do.
If you don't believe me about clear air turbulence, Google clear air turbulence, and there's been multiple incidents within the last 12 months of passengers going through the ceiling because they did not have their seatbelts on.
And it was totally normal flying conditions, and also just wham.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I have never been part of that. I have been part of clear air turbulence back in 2017, but we'll get to that later. So yeah, wear the seatbelt all the time.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be, cutting off circulation to your legs, but keep it so that you're not going to be thrown up and out of the seat.
All right. What about armrests and tray tables?
Armrests. It's just the aisle armrest.
Ah.
And why do you have to have it down? I don't have a straight answer on that one.
Fair enough.
I don't know. It's just
Well,
the
they've made us put
FAA
it down
rules.
between.
Yeah, they made us put it down before. Not necessarily that airline, though, so.
Yep. And then tray tables. Yeah, it's the only reason I could see them having to go up 30 or more minutes prior to arrival would be if they're expecting turbulence on the way in to wherever you're going. Otherwise, it's usually about 15 to 20 minutes prior to. And it's just you have to have a clear evacuation for everybody in the row to the exit in the event of an emergency.
Okay.
I'll let you slide on that. Okay, now moving on.
All right. So as a mom,
I disagree, though.
I want to know what is the dirtiest or the least cleaned part of the airplane. Everybody wants to know this, and we all assume that it's the bathroom. But then we've heard things like maybe it's the seat pockets or the trays or something else. I don't know. But it seems to me like these planes land and they turn them over pretty quickly and they take off again. So how clean can they get?
Well, during COVID, they got them pretty clean between, they would sanitize them pretty deeply between each flight. But
COVID was great for stuff like that.
yeah, one of
But
the
now-
few things. Yeah, exactly. But let's see here. The dirtiest, I was kind of thinking about this recently, even before we had discussed the podcast. I would say for me, it would either have to be the button or the handle for flushing the toilet or the lock on the door.
Sure.
The lock and the handle, because unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't wash their hands after going to the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
And, I've commented to other crew members underneath my breath, well, they flushed and walked. They didn't wash their hands.
How do you know?
Because it's too quick. They flushed, and then you heard the door open and they were coming out already.
Got it. Because you're standing right there in the galley or whatever.
Exactly.
All right. So, by the way, who gets the low man on the totem pole for the having to be on the bathroom duty cleaning it during inflates?
I don't think there's really a set person. I take it upon myself because I usually fly lead on international flights. So I'll take it upon myself just to kind of, that's the type of leader that I am, because I don't want to put somebody on my crew doing something that I wouldn't do myself.
Okay.
So
Wow.
aside from that,
I would delegate that job right off. Good for you.
All right.
yeah.
I got to follow up to that. It's claimed, people always think that, I don't want to go on a plane. I'm going to get sick, being on a plane after being on a plane. Would you say that's a myth, or do you think that's legit easier to get sick on planes? And maybe give a little background of some of the things they do with the air and recirculation and things, because there's a lot of people that don't understand, what's going on in the plane. And how do you stay healthy?
As far as, let's see here, let's start with the recycled air. There are vents that take in the outside air. And it is, I want to say it's recycled. I'm not even going to guess. I want to say it's recycled like every 20 minutes or something like that.
In the plane?
Yep.
So all the air in the plane is fresh every 20 minutes at least.
I could be off with that number, but I'm
That sounds
fairly,
fair.
let's see here. It's a big old petri dish, to be honest with you.
Do you fare well? Have you built up an immune system to so when you work, you don't get sick very often, or do you get sick a lot?
I do not get sick often, but when I do, I get really sick. So, I could probably count on both hands in the last 15 years how many times I've had to call in sick.
Well,
Mine is usually from injuries on the plane,
Oh.
working injuries.
Like what?
So, well, lifting the bins, closing the bins.
just a muscle pull.
I
Just
do
stretching the wrong way.
Shoulders. I do a lot of work in the galleys and latches and brakes on the carts. The carts can weigh up to 240 pounds when they're completely full. So pushing, pulling, we have, at my airline, we have videos that we watch quarterly as far as maintaining healthy posture while closing bins, while lifting anything. Technically, we're not supposed to lift passengers' bags.
But you
So-
do.
But that happens.
It happens all the time. Yeah.
It's more requested that somebody around them,
Yeah.
around the passengers.
I always help.
Although, if it is a disabled person, older or an elderly person, I'll help them out.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so as far as seating goes, are there certain rows or seats or sides of the plane or sections of the plane that are preferable? And conversely, are there some that you would avoid like the plague for safety or for whatever reason?
Um,
And I would assume that varies a little bit on which airplane you're talking about.
100%. Yes. If there's, you can Google before a flight what the layout is of the aircraft. I've thought about this one recently when I saw a lady she was at a bulkhead seat in economy, and she had about 2 feet of leg room out in front of her. She had taken her rollerboard down during flight, and she was using it as a footrest.
Awesome.
So
Is that okay? Is it allowed?
So, yeah, as long as the seatbelt sign is off
And as long as it's stowed once we come in for a landing.
for takeoff and landing. Yep.
It's like a bed.
Well, more like a recliner.
I'd take it.
So would you recommend a certain side of the plane or certain spots?
For me, after doing enough Asia flights and European flights, for me it would depend on what time of the year.
How so and why?
If it's a winter flight and I'm going to Europe, I would like the the aircraft left seats, the AB seats. Greater likeliness you're going to see northern lights.
See, that's the same I always do the same when we go to Asia, to Europe. I want the left-hand side because when we're going overnight flights, usually leave at, late at night.
Yep.
And you get the Aurora Borealis on the way there.
Yep. Or the highest letter seats going to Asia. You're going to see them out the
Right
aircraft right.
Nice.
Okay.
And I do the same thing with the seats for returning daytime because you don't want that sun pounding on the
Exactly.
left-hand side. If you're on the left-hand side of the plane and you're coming from Europe to United States and that sun is, in the wintertime, it's just low and it's just straight in the window on you, it's good to be on the right-hand side so you don't have that sun on you all day.
Yep. Excellent point. And
Okay.
with those seats during the day flights, I fly a lot of Asia routes, and some of our Asian flight attendants, they wear sunscreen
Wow.
during the flights. So, that could roll over to passengers.
Sure.
If you're on the sun side of the plane, maybe
Sure.
consider sunscreen.
Interesting. That's never once occurred to me
No, I've never
before.
thought about sunscreen on that.
Just kind of dawned on me.
Um,
Yeah.
is first class really worth the money? And are you really even getting upgrades anymore with so many people who have, status with airlines?
For me personally, um, is first class really worth the money? I would have to say, are you on a special occasion? Are you going on a honeymoon or something like that? Or are you a business traveler who needs to be well rested and hit the ground running when you get there? If you're one of those two, I would say, yeah, maybe it's worth the money. If you're just somebody that is going over for leisure travel, it's definitely an expensive seat. I When we fly non-revenue passengers like employees and stuff, when we are fortunate enough to get first class seats, my oldest daughter took a list of each time she would get on a flight. She traveled with me a lot. When she was a senior in high school, I took both my daughters to Amsterdam in October, and on the way home, Amelia said, and my older daughter said, "Dad, I want to go to a different country with you every month
Nice.
for the rest of the school year on a trip that you're working." And I'll save for time. She came up to me at her graduation party. She said, "Dad, if I was to buy a ticket, 2 hours before the flight, which I'm not even sure that you could. She was just looking up the price. But she said, I took a tally of every flight that I got on in first class when I traveled with you while working, and I would have had $76,000
Oh my
worth of airfare this year alone."
That is a perk.
And I said, that's why we do what we do.
That is unbelievable. And what amazing memories that you made with her in her senior year when you
Yep.
don't get a lot of time with those teenagers who are always
Yeah, usually
Busy.
their
with their
senior
friends.
year, they're busy.
You win for coolest dad. That's
Yeah.
probably pretty cool.
Back in my job, I would have been able to take them into a power plant and look at pumps and exciting things. Yeah, no, that's not the same.
Waste treatment plants and all kinds
And you
of
know
good
why I
stuff.
retired now. I should go get a job with an airline and get some bennies.
Seriously.
That's not a bad idea.
Okay, so is there a better time of day or of the week to fly? Just that it makes things more manageable or to avoid delays, cancellations. Does it matter these days?
Days of the week I couldn't really tell you, but I would say time of day. To avoid delays, I would always try and take the first flight out.
Even like the 6 a.m. Some of them are early.
Yeah, as those ones especially, because you're not waiting on an aircraft to come in. Because the later you wait during the day, you're going to be waiting on. Well, you potentially could be waiting on aircraft from coming in from wherever. And if there's weather, at that destination, at your destination, somewhere in between that they have to fly around, causing that aircraft to be delayed, your flight's going to be delayed more.
Also, I think that from our point of view as passengers, more than his as a flight attendant, if you want to hopefully get bumped, they fill and a lot of times overbook the earlier day flights because there's a lot of people doing business trips and there's more people on those planes scheduled. And then when they overbook them, if we get lucky enough to get a bump, there's more flights during the day to get onto. Whereas if you do that at night, you might have to wait until the next day to get on a plane. So
Yep, excellent point. That's something that I don't really think about.
You don't have to.
not,
You don't
not my
care if
neighborhood.
you get bumped.
Not my neighborhood.
all right. So do you prefer flying, domestic or international routes for, being an attendant? And what is your favorite city you've flown into?
Oh, let's see here. I prefer international. I typically fly purser trips, lead trips on international flights. And as far as a favorite city, I just came back from Tokyo, so every city has some sort of a draw to it for me. In Seoul, The safety there is like nowhere else in the world. You know, I had
Just wander anywhere you wanted at all times.
pretty much. I had a friend that moved his family over there for a couple of years. He was in the healthcare industry, and he took a picture of a credit card laying on the sidewalk one day. And he's like, yeah, the culture here says, yeah, that credit card's going to stay laying there because somebody might come back looking for it.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
So
Wow.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so likewise, what is the best airport that you've been to? And do you really even get to take advantage when you're flying a lot? Like, do you get to, if I don't know how many days or how long you have to stay over, and once you get to your destination, do you get to take advantage and go see things?
usually for my airline, we will take off at a, at a time slot that will enable us to get into our destination in order for people to connect, to make connecting flights. So for Amsterdam flights, we're typically going to leave afternoon, evening, so that we're arriving in Europe in the morning because of our code shares with other airlines. Those flights, those connections, that enables our passengers to make those connections onto wherever else in the world they're going. And then kind of just the opposite, we're flying all day long going over to Asia and then landing probably early afternoon typically so that people can make the evening or later night flights onto their destinations in the Middle East or in the Far East and stuff like that. As far as a favorite airport, MSP has done a great job. They're still
That's
in the
Minneapolis,
process.
St. Paul.
Yeah, sorry.
Really? In the whole world, you're going to say
Well,
that?
We do have a nice one.
I know we do,
They've done
but-
a lot, and they're doing a lot to make it a great updated airport. You know, there's other airports like Austin, Texas, where they always have live music playing,
That's cool.
which is kind of fun if you get there a little bit early. Or
What about internationally?
internationally, that one's kind of tough to say because there's a lot of airports where we get, I shouldn't say a lot, because I don't fly to a lot of different airports, but we get picked up, you know, as a crew after we arrive and do our final cabin checks and stuff like that. We'll either get picked up kind of plane side by our shuttle, or we'll have to go through customs as a crew. And so, yeah, I apologize. I don't have the best
That's all right.
answer
Is
for
there,
that one.
is
You don't
there
get to
one
see
you
it.
want to avoid?
Atlanta.
Okay.
Too busy.
That's, yeah, it's just, I never seem to be fortunate enough to be at the gate right next door.
Oh my gosh.
It always seems to be a concourse or a quarter mile walk away. Yeah, exactly.
Doing the
sure.
OJ.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. People think that your job, you know, as a flight attendant, is kind of a glamorous job. You know, you get to fly all the time. Do you agree with that, or do you think there's a better word for it?
I would say kind of the glamour aspect has been kind of polished off. It's not really, I don't view it as glamorous anymore. We have a lot of variety and a lot of freedom. You know, we're not sitting in a cubicle with somebody looking over our shoulders with quotas to meet or anything like that. So it's, as far as that goes, I don't view it as glamorous, but we do have a lot of freedom within our job.
That's good.
So
Is there anything that people tend to assume about flight attendants that bothers you?
There's definitely something there.
well, me being a male, you know, more so when I was younger, people would assume I was gay. And probably 2/3 to 3/4 of the male flight attendants are gay.
Nothing wrong with
But
that. It's just
no,
it's just the
it's
stats.
just the assumption. Yep.
Yeah.
Another one that kind of bothers me, assuming that we have a boyfriend or a girlfriend in other cities.
Oh, that you're
So
getting around,
exactly.
literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
That
So-
book, The Pilot's Wife, a number of years ago, didn't do anybody any favors.
Not so
they
much,
assume you
yeah.
have a whole other family in another city.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
All right. Is there something that passengers don't realize that flight attendants are actually trained for?
I guess we're mildly trained in many different medical situations. I don't know that, I feel we could use a little bit more of the medical training, but
There's usually a doctor on board too.
exactly.
I mean, it's
yep.
you know,
When you hear for one,
yeah. So is there a
being
doctor on
paged.
board? Yeah, there usually is quite a few of them actually. Probably.
especially on international flights. Knock on wood, I've been very fortunate. If needed, there has been one available.
In today's world, any self-defense or anything where you have to worry about people just being unruly?
That goes back to the observing who's walking on board the aircraft with the boarding process. I do those checks as I'm walking up to the gate. I look at somebody who might be intoxicated. I look at somebody that might, situational awareness, we'll say.
If you ever quit your job, you could become a profiler. Probably be pretty good at it after seeing so many people over so much time.
Yeah, that one I don't know. It's not on my radar.
So, is there a common myth about air travel that's totally inaccurate? Like talk to me about putting your cell phone on airplane mode. What would really happen if I didn't do that? Is the airplane going to fall out of the sky?
It doesn't.
Yeah. Back when cell phones were new, say late 90s, early 2000s, they were run on a closer frequency, I believe, to the radios. And that's more if we're taxiing or something like that on the ground.
Oh, you would get interference because they were on the same signals.
Right.
To the tower.
Or collecting, yeah.
They were getting
close to the
feedback
signal.
or something like muffling signals because there was too many people on the same frequency maybe.
Right.
Ah.
These days, I don't know of anything like that. It's as far as cell phones go, your phone's going to keep looking for a signal, so it's going to run your battery dead quicker. But other than that,
Because
I
they
don't
tell
think
us
there's...
to put it on airplane mode.
Yep. And that's just the FAA rules. I don't know.
Oh,
Much
okay.
beyond
Fair
that.
enough.
All right.
It's not you guys.
Right.
It's not you guys making
that
those
makes sense.
decisions.
Okay, so give us a tip. What's one thing that you always bring in your carry-on, or maybe your best travel hack?
My personal one is I always have a couple of, I've got a little bag that has a portable charger, a little,
Like a battery pack.
yep, a battery pack, a toothbrush, something in the event that you get stuck. That's you're not supposed to bring your bags off in the event of an emergency, but that'll be, one, 8-inch by 8-inch by 2-inch bag that will have what I need if I get stuck somewhere for an extended period.
All
Okay.
right. What about jet lag? You travel so much that how do you handle it? Is there any tips that you have, or does it just not affect you anymore because you've been doing it for so long?
I'm fortunate in that one. If it's dark out, I can sleep.
Oh, I've seen this, you guys. If you stop talking to him for more than 2-3 minutes and we're in a room together, he could be gone. He's just out.
But maybe his body's had to learn how to take advantage of sleep when you have an opportunity.
Power naps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I'll start a conversation again. I'll start look over and Trevor's just not responding because his eyes are closed and he's asleep.
Well, I'm still fighting jet lag from being home almost a week ago, and I'm still tired at night. And you're constantly, I don't know how you do it.
Well, we don't typically stay in a place for a week. I land in Asia. We land at 2:00 in the afternoon. I do what I can to stay up until 9 or 10 at night when it's dark. Then I'll sleep until 6 o'clock in the morning, get up, work out, go to breakfast, go out for a walk, and come back and get ready and fly home.
So something that not everybody knows about, but I've always found it fascinating. On international flights, you guys get a chance to go into a bed area and sleep on shift. Like, explain how that works a little bit, just because people just don't know that actually happens, maybe.
Yep, I can't talk a whole lot about it, but yeah, there is a bunk area. Typically two, one for the pilots and one for the flight attendants.
No commingling.
No, well, there is actually one aircraft where they're in the same area, but pilots have a separate section.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So I've pretty much given up on like neck pillows and things to make me comfortable and help me sleep on the airplane and accessories like that. Is there something that you've seen after all these years that really works, or do you also say screw it to the neck pillows?
We get a lot of neck pillows left behind on each flight.
I know, I've heard that's the number one thing left behind.
I'd believe it. Yeah, there's usually between 0 and 5 left behind on each flight. So,
Wow.
as far as do I have anything? No, I get as uncomfortable as the next person.
Shoot, no magic.
Yeah.
No magic answer.
All right. Do you fly? Or do you book flights only with your airline, or do you like to say, hey, I want to go on a trip. It doesn't matter who it's with. I want to go on a trip. Or do you just say, hey, I'll go on trips and go to places where it's, where I can use my benefits as with this airline?
We're very fortunate at my airline. We have agreements with many other airlines worldwide where we can get discounted airfare at on other airlines.
So partner airlines and even non-partner?
Yep. Well, they're a partner airline, but yeah, I flew from Seoul to Da Nang, Vietnam, on Vietnam Air last December. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what's the strangest thing you've ever seen a passenger do on an airplane? Let's talk about some quirky things. Like, he's smiling.
Yeah. Well,
It's like, maybe I can't. He probably can't tell us some of the stories because they're just, he just probably can't. But what do you
yeah,
got?
yeah. I was
And tell us if it's something you can't tell us, because we just want to let our minds, wander.
maybe. Yeah. There's one that I brought up to my wife this morning that
And she said, no, you can't tell.
maybe we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, you'll have to tell us after we shut
But
off.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah, it's just it goes back to cleanliness things. I've seen people changing babies' diapers on the seats and on the tray tables and stuff like that.
That's why you always bring your own wet wipes or your sanitizer napkins so that you can wipe everything down when you get on. Even if they've done a good job, you want to make sure.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Glad I asked that question.
All right. Are there any unwritten rules of flying that, just you should know that most people break, or they just, that you've had to contend with, that that they're doing wrong, that you just go, oh, God, but you don't say anything to them necessarily?
Not so much anymore. Back in the day, to go back to cell phones, when you would see, it used to be powering off all larger electronic devices. And now, as long as you can hold it, like there's iPads and stuff like that now, that they can use at any time. So it's not as bad anymore. As soon as we land, people can use their cell phones now. So that took a lot of that pressure off. But as far as unwritten rules that people break,
like going up into the first class area, or should they not be going up and using the bathroom up the front if it's in the first class area, if they're back in economy, or that kind of things?
Yeah, I don't want to delve too much on that one because there are things that I could say but shouldn't.
What about people who take their shoes off?
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
you can take them off, but keep them. I would say keep them on top of your shoes and don't get up and go walking around.
Okay, people who walk in their stocking feet to the bathroom, I want to puke.
No, I don't want to talk about that.
That's horrible.
You must love the ones that go in barefoot then.
No,
Oh my gosh.
no, no.
Well,
no.
your wife once told me it is never water on the bathroom floor.
Yeah, it's not splashing from the sink.
It's
Yeah.
not from the sink. I'm like, okay, duly noted.
All right, I got a good one. Is the Mile High Club still prevalent? And if you don't know what that is, people, you can look it up. But come on, you know that everybody wants to know, are there any funny stories? Have you caught a lot of people? Do people think that they're being clever? Do you guys always know when it's happening? Or do you stop them, make fun of them? Do you try and put them on the spot? What do you do? What do you see?
I honestly haven't seen it in probably 20 years, but I have had it.
Really? You haven't?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I've seen it, I think, 3 times in my career. Once was a red-eye flight from Vegas to Detroit. And, basically times were different in 2000 than they are now. So, we basically greeted them with a bottle of wine outside the door and totally embarrassed them. And
Oh. Hey, you made their day.
That's awesome.
Celebratory wine. That's awesome.
they made their night.
I
Oh
would
my
think that
gosh.
it's a lot on overnights when there's, people are sleepy and not paying attention and it's dark and, but the bathrooms are so small nowadays.
Exactly. If you're fitting 2 people into a restroom, hey,
And we just talked
you
about
must
how
be thin.
gross those
Yeah.
bathrooms are. So
Yeah.
okay, let's move on. All right. So, what snacks or drinks would you recommend that we maybe stay away from, if any?
I wouldn't say totally staying away, but alcohol hits you differently at a higher, at altitude. I've done a lot of the, we call them sun destinations, whether it be Cancun or Playa del Carmen or Mexico, basically.
Mm-hmm.
From there, people are on there to have a good time, and I just tell them, I want you to have a good time, but I want you to have a good time when you get there too. The alcohol can hit you harder once you land.
Oh, yeah, because it's probably, you're not
Then-
feeling it as much, and all of a sudden you land and come down off the atmosphere, and all of a sudden they got 12 drinks in them.
They're they're getting
Interesting.
turned away from customs, and they're coming back
Ooh.
to the States with us.
Oh, no.
So
I have not heard of that. That's a tough one.
I've had 2 people in my career that were turned away at customs
Oh my
for
gosh.
being inebriated.
So, when you're not alcohol, but are there things that you can ask for, or that isn't on the menu for when they come around and give you 2 choices for food? And do you eat the airplane meals yourself, or do you bring your own food on when you guys are flying?
As far as anything that's not on the menu, basically we let you know everything we have, at least at my airline.
There's no secret, like, hey, if I ask for it, I can get this.
No special wink nod sort of
No VIP
buddy
cabinet. Okay.
deal. But I eat the airline food. There's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of preservatives in it and stuff like that, because they have
Because
to.
I have to. Yeah.
Yep. And they cook it in the kitchen. They either chill it greatly or freeze it, and then it just gets reheated on the planes. So
Do you prefer when you're traveling to have the international food or the local food that is in the U.S. when you're traveling international flights? Because it's different. Like when we just came back from Italy, the food was Italian food that they brought on the plane because they brought it onto the plane when we were getting on in Rome. But we had unbelievably good food. I've found that some countries, when you get on the planes, have way better food.
yep.
What's your favorite?
For me, I like the food coming from whichever country we're leaving back into the States. That's
Interesting.
just a personal preference.
Okay.
So, what's the trick to staying comfortable on those long haul flights? And do they Like the blankets and the pillows, I always wondered, do they wash those every time and do they throw them away afterwards? Like that would be tragic.
Getting comfortable, that's going to be a personal, you know, I would stretch your legs, at least stand up in the seat area when the seatbelt sign's off. Stretch your legs and stretch your arms. We used to have like a seat yoga before before individual movie screens. We used to have videos that we would play up on an individual screen. You could always tell when a
don't
movie
remember
was
that.
over because the line for the bathroom got really long.
That's funny.
But going over to Asia, we used to have on the video screens, we used to have like a stretch yoga video that would play before we arrived. So
you know-
that's
What about the blankets? Do you know about that, or do they just show up with pre-wrapped blankets and you just don't know?
I'm under a safe assumption that they do wash them all. The pillows, they put new pillowcases on each one. If they wash the pillows after each flight, they would get so lumpy that
And how many
Interesting.
blankets do you think walk off the plane with customers per flight?
on
Because
a-
I've been
on a
guilty
fl-
before.
on a flight with 200 people, I would say less than 2%.
Okay, yeah, a few.
So
I mean, we
yeah.
might be able to find one in our house.
Yeah, there's probably an airline blanket in our house.
However, the last one that I took, it was a really scratchy blanket.
Why would you keep it then?
No, I mean I didn't keep it.
Oh.
I was like, ain't
She just
nobody,
took it.
ain't nobody keeping these.
They gotta
No.
get new ones. We're gonna take
No,
them,
no,
so
no,
they
no.
have to get new ones.
I meant there's nobody stealing that one. They were not comfortable whatsoever.
All right. Do you get to fly on the luxury flights like that have the suites and the multiple levels and the bars? Have you been on those? Because we've never gone on to one of those levels, like an upper deck.
I've only seen them in movies, actually.
As far as the suites and stuff, we have small suites on some of our aircraft. We don't have the double deckers. I looked it up. There's only 10 carriers in the world that do have it's a A380 Airbus 380, and their entire upper deck is on most
Fancy.
of them is business class seats.
Wow.
Hmm.
Haven't been on one of those yet.
It's like Jennifer
either.
Aniston commercials. Are they like all Asia?
No,
Oh, Middle
Middle
East,
East. Yep.
Oh, Middle East. Yeah, okay, that makes
Yep.
sense. Interesting. Okay, so what is the most important, in your opinion, safety detail that actually really matters and most passengers probably ignore it?
Seatbelt sign.
All right. I think we talked about that, but
Yeah.
we were hoping there was going to be some new revelation that we weren't knowing about, but it makes sense.
No, that's when the seatbelt sign goes on. It's there's a chance for turbulence in the area.
You know what's tricky though? On this last flight, it went on and off pretty quickly, and so I was like, "Oh, we can go to the bathroom." And because my mom's like, "Next time it goes off, I'd like to go," and she's kind of getting ready, and then I went back on again. I'm like, "Oh, nope, sit down," and it was like off on, off on. Like we barely would have had time to get out. No, it was tricky.
Yeah, that one I don't know.
Yeah, Julie, you can go ahead.
So, okay, has there ever been a situation where you've genuinely been concerned for passenger safety or the aircraft in general?
The only time that I personally have been concerned, I was flying from Minneapolis to Paris once, and we hit clear air turbulence. That's basically where turbulence isn't forecast. And I was working in the back of a wide body aircraft, and we hit this bump, and I was thrown nearly to the ceiling, and then kind of like a boat going over a wave, it kind of slammed down again, and I landed lock-kneed on my heels, and I felt the jarring from my heels all the way up into my skull.
Wow.
And herniated 2 discs in my back.
Hey.
So,
Oh, gosh.
so yeah, that was the only time that I've been concerned. It kind of goes back to the seatbelt, wearing your seatbelt. But yeah, by the time we landed in Paris, I had 4 phone calls, 2 of them from my base and 2 of them from headquarters, asking if everything was okay.
Oh, that's good.
So what about passengers? If you had that much, what about everybody else?
Yeah, there was no injuries. There was one other flight attendant in the back that didn't get even looked at. So, yeah, no major injuries from that one. But yeah, that was
That's
the only
lucky.
time in 29 years
That's
I've
good.
been real
Knock on some wood.
concerned.
Yeah, right?
All right. How do you deal with the difficult passengers without losing your cool? And if you had to restrain somebody before authorities arrive, what do you do with them? Like, where do you take them? And is there a spot? You don't have a jail cell on a plane.
Nope. Can't really talk about that one because it is
Dang it.
security. But
Shoot.
but yeah,
We're asking the questions, people.
Yeah.
There probably is a jail cell.
No jail cell, but that also goes back to the profiling. Who's going to be able to help me in a situation like that? After 9/11, the profiling, good, bad, or otherwise, went into hyperdrive. Okay, I want to know who's
Profiling's a weird word. We shouldn't say profiling. It's probably just being more observant.
Assessing.
Yeah,
Assessing.
there you go.
Profiling brings up other
Could bring-
connotations. that
So
maybe
would
it's
you
not.
would you look at Tony and say he's going to be a problem for me, or is he's going to be a help for me?
I'm gonna be help.
No, I'm asking him.
No, I would. He's fit. He's
You hear that, people?
yeah. He looks like he would be able to open a door in an emergency. He speaks as though he could call people towards him. So yeah,
Oh,
I
I'm
think
loud
he would do
enough.
good.
Maybe you should stop getting window seats because you can't help if you're stuck in there as much.
I like a look out the window.
Aurora Borealis.
That's right.
All right, so you probably can't ask.
Well, let's ask anyways. Are there really air marshals still on the planes? Are they prevalent? You see them in movies, like there's always a guy with a gun that's a cop or an air marshal. Is that movie or is that reality? And can you even talk about it?
I can't really talk about it, but I can say that anytime there is a armed passenger on, we have to let all of the other armed passengers, whether they're
There's
federal,
a lot of them.
Who
federal.
would those be?
Well, a lot of the times, say going into Washington D.C. or something like that, there might be,
Security detail.
yep,
Interesting.
that carry guns. We know, we find out who all of them are, as well as federal air marshals. We know where they're at, and we have to let everybody else that's packing heat know where one another is, just to avoid.
Interesting. Okay, well, so what did you say?
I like this one. I think this is a good question.
So what is, I know there's stories. So what is the story that you most often tell people about something that happened in your flight? Like one they're like, oh, I got a good one that you share a lot.
I tell people that sometimes my mouth gets me in trouble, but sometimes it gets me into some pretty cool situations.
So Trevor can be really dry sarcastically, and you don't know if he's pissed at you or if he's joking with you. You don't have any clue. So I would assume that when you get with passengers, if you want to rebuttal back against somebody that's maybe being a little difficult, you might come up with the wittiest line, and that person has no clue that you just slammed them.
100%.
Yeah, I can totally see you doing that.
But the person next to them is like, oh,
Yeah, someone that's a little more clever is like, oh, snap.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Okay.
So to go back to your question, Julie, I sat down on a plane once upon a time and happened to sit next to a guy who opens his laptop, and he had a horse background. I said, oh, are you a horse guy? He's like, well, kind of. My family owns a ranch up in Montana. This is an hour-long flight from Memphis to New Orleans. And short story long, we're flipping through pictures, and he comes across one, and I go, what's that? He's like, oh, my company's hosting a party at the Playboy Mansion next week. He says, shoot me an email. I'll put you on the guest list. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Well, his parting words were, send me that email. I'd like to have you out there. Turns out it was the only 2 days off the entire month of July that my wife and I had together. So we had to rustle up a dress and find a place to stay, and so we went out and we went to a party at the Playboy Mansion.
Did you guys get to go into the grotto
We went into the grotto.
by yourselves?
No.
All right. No X-rated story on this one.
I thought
No.
you were going to say you couldn't go because you had to spend time with your wife, but no, you brought your wife to the Playboy
Yeah,
Mansion.
you did that wrong.
Well, she did say, "Wouldn't you want one of your guy friends to go?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, but I'd like a place to call home when I got back."
There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
You're
Oh
smarter.
my gosh.
You're smarter.
That is a good story. I don't know how we haven't heard that one.
I haven't. Heard
Okay, so other than, meander travel, have you had any famous people on your flights, and how did that go?
I don't really recognize them. It's bad to say, they don't come on like they're walking the red carpet. So that one's tough. I did the NBA and NHL charters for a while, so I got to see a lot of the players and stuff like that. Met LeBron James and Kobe Bryant in the same week, so that was kind of fun. But other than that, they more or less want to be left alone. They're just trying to get to where they're going.
Sure.
So, I did have a gentleman on recently who makes a lot of reels and stuff like that. And I did say, hey, I like your material. And so just kind of kept it low and casual. And
Thanks, and moved on.
yep.
Oh,
So-
that's cool.
All right, so your crew on the planes, it's different amount of people for different size planes and whatnot. But is the rapport good? Do you guys have like the same people you work with all the time? Do you try and get scheduled with people, or is it all individualistic? And how often do you get to go and do stuff with them when you arrive at place, or do you hang out together?
I usually, let's see here, we'll go through them a little bit. Everybody's schedule is different, and with a monthly schedule and so many flights,
Because you grab the flights you want. If you're senior enough to get them,
everything is seniority driven in the bid process. So say I wanted Tokyo on Mondays, and I was able to hold Tokyo Monday to Wednesday each week within the seniority or within the bid process. I would get those trips. Well, we have probably about 75 different options as to what we can do with those in the bidding process. So I would have to say next to never have I had the same crew on multiple flights. We're a crew going out and we're a crew coming back, but then the next week, Tony needed the day off, so he's not on the crew or something like that. Do we hang out? Usually 3 to 4 people on a crew. On our wide bodies, we usually have 10 or 11 flight attendants. So we'll usually get 3-4 people that'll go out for dinner or something like that.
That's nice.
Everybody kind of keeps their own schedule and has their own routines on layovers.
Sure.
And do the captains of the plane, the pilots, do they stay separately? Do they do something different, or do you get to hang out with them or no?
Almost always there's internationally, there's going to be 3 to 4 pilots, and they kind of usually do their own thing. Very, very rarely. I think once in my career have I gone out with just me and the pilots.
Wow. That's not very many.
So,
okay.
yeah.
We got
Okay.
some closing rapid fire
Yeah,
questions.
we're getting close to wrapping it up, but in just a nutshell, what's the worst part of your job?
The boarding process.
Oh, interesting.
People,
Really?
yep.
Why?
Oh, people just taking their sweet old time as soon as they get to their seat. They might be grabbing something out of their bag and they are standing in the aisle, not letting people pass. And, oh, well, 2 more people have gone by. I forgot something out of my bag. I got to get up and block the whole process again. So,
And you would just want to get the door shut and be on time and get out of there.
as soon as those brakes are released, I'm getting paid.
Oh, so that's another thing that people don't really understand is that just because Trevor and flight attendants show up at the airport, half an hour before the flight and they get on before we all start boarding. Hour. Let's say 2 hours, whatever it is. You get on the plane and start doing things, but you guys don't get paid until The doors are shut and you're moving.
We're not paid our full hourly wage until the brakes are released.
So
And then they're reapplied
get
at our
in your
destination.
seats. Get in your seats. Sit your butts down. Buckle your seatbelts so they can shut the doors and they can start getting paid.
I don't
Thank
even
you.
understand that. If you are there, you're monitoring, you're helping. Well, that's annoying.
That is annoying. That should be something that should be changed for them.
Well, our airline and others now have started paying a prorated hourly rate for the boarding process.
Oh, that's good.
So,
Good.
so there's a little bit something to be had
Okay,
there.
interesting.
All right. What advice would you? Oh wait a minute. What's the best part of your job?
Yeah,
I think I know what it is.
conversely.
Though. I know what it is. Though.
The freedom, the
Yeah.
liberties that any other job just can't allow you. You know, if I could be, when I'm done with the podcast here, I could hop on a flight and fly over to Amsterdam, or all the Asia flights have already left. So, yeah, I don't have any quotas to meet. I don't have anybody looking over my shoulder telling me I can't do this, I can't do that. You need to do this, you need to do that. So
I think another big one for families, and you probably just didn't mention it, but I know you live it. You got kids in sports. You got things with your families are doing. You don't have to miss anything if you don't want to. You can be at all of those events and fly at odd times and be at your kids' functions.
yep, that's what I tell new flight attendants. I tell them you'll get a lot of people that are just starting out. I tell them, the first year will either suck you in or spit you out. That's that's kind of the way, it allows you the liberties and the freedoms that a 9-to-5 job just can't.
All right. So along that same lines, with new people that are interested in becoming flight attendant, what advice do you give them? Do you say, hey, go for the big hitters right away, or go for a small regional, or how should they go about starting to get this job?
And what should they expect as far as scheduling? Because now they're at the bottom of the totem.
Every airline is different. Mine, they will have 6 reserve days a month. They're put into 3-day blocks. I'm not 100% sure on how other airlines do it, but as far as somebody just looking into the career, I would say, what do you want out of it? Do you want the short haul flights where you're like on a regional carrier where you might have 4, 5, 6 flights a day? Or do you want the one long flight?
Can they do that right away, the long flight, like the international flight, or is that going to be booked up by a senior person?
Senior people call in sick.
Ah, so you
They're
might
on
just get-
reserve, or it goes to open time. They can pick it up on day 1.
So there's opportunity to do whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
That's the liberties and the freedoms.
Interesting. Okay, so now that you've got thousands of people listening
Tens
to
of
this,
thousands.
tens of thousands,
Maybe millions.
at your disposal listening to this podcast, what do you want to say to passengers to make the lives of flight attendants easier everywhere?
I would say just be nice. Be nice to the passenger next to you. Give the people at the window can lean to the window. The people at the aisle can lean to the aisle. Give the middle person the armrests in the middle.
Oh, wow. That's an aggressive statement.
Well,
Would the window people and aisle people need armrests too?
you
They
each
got
have one.
So you're saying that the middle person gets 2 and the outside people get 1.
Yeah, because
They
the middle
have room to
person's
lean.
Screwed.
If I'm in the middle, I lean to the aisle.
We're
I'm
going to
leaning
agree to
into your
disagree
lap.
on this one, folks.
That seems fair to me.
I don't know.
Have
I
you
don't
gotten
know.
elbow matches with people?
Says the guy who sits in the window.
Uh-huh.
Hey, a lot of times you're paying for that right to be on that window unless you're back in just basically gen pop economy. A lot of times you're paying to have that window seat. So I'm not saying you should get 2 armrests, but I don't think it should be always given to the person in the middle.
Well, they're sacrificing and taking one for the team by being in the middle, so they can have the 2 dang armrests.
All right.
That's where it goes down to being courteous.
Listen, I'm extremely courteous on airplanes. I'm very helpful. I volunteer to, do whatever for anybody. But in theory, I like to talk about what's right and what's wrong about etiquette on a plane.
Sure.
So, whatever.
Okay. So,
Trevor, this has been awesome fun for us. You're a good friend of ours. We thank you for, giving us a little behind the scene look at air travel. We've talked some of these stories and these topics before with you, but we thought it'd be really fun to put together for a podcast to try and ask some of these questions that people just, maybe never get the opportunity to find out when they're thinking these, thoughts in their seats.
and he's a 30-year guy practically, like he
Yeah.
knows it all. But I'd also like to mention that Trevor is one of our most loyal listeners, and we appreciate you so much for that. And I actually think it's really interesting that you've listened to all of the podcasts because you've probably been to more places in the world than anyone we know. So it's a curious thing that you listen to our travel podcast. So I'm wondering, like, why do you listen to it? Like, what's your take on it? And which one was your favorite?
Favorite. Well, let's go back a little bit. Why do I listen? You guys go out and explore. You do stuff. You live off the cuff a little bit. And through that, you find speakeasies, you find little bars and stuff like that I can take my cruise to.
Oh, cool.
And, I've been to 3 or 4 in London that you guys have mentioned. And
This is news to me. I didn't know that you
we'll
did
have to
that.
talk about
So
this.
cool.
yeah. So aside from that, one episode in particular that I like the most, I like the Olympic coverage stuff. That was,
Which one, the summer or the winter? Because we did both.
I know it. I would have to say probably the recent winter ones, just because I had never been to that part of Italy and stuff. It was Italy, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
The Dolomites and the up in the mountains.
Yeah, it was cool.
yep.
Cortina.
So, Cortina, exactly.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
That's probably the one that I
Well,
enjoy.
thank you for being a listener, and thank you for supporting us and telling every passenger that you meet to follow in the podcast. So we really appreciate
We
that.
could give him stickers to hand out or something.
There you go.
Just put them on all the tray backs.
Oh my gosh.
That one might get me in trouble.
That one might. Well, we appreciate you so much today. This has been really fun. It's kind of fun to go off topic from just travel all the time and talk to somebody who's in the industry as well. So this is going to be wrapping up for us today. We hope that you will share and like this podcast and tell your friends about it. We'd really appreciate any support.
And Trevor, chime in with us on this as we say goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah. So until next time, it's
Wheels up.